Good evening, everybody. Look at who we got in the house.
Hi, everybody.
We
I'm
got
happy to be here.
No Judgment here with Tish Ross.
Mm-hmm.
There's Papa's already in here.
All right, Papa. I love him.
Full blown country. Yeah, we had a blast. We had a blast getting to see you guys in person and stuff. I love watching those video clips of us getting pictures and stuff. That was awesome.
It was, I was sort of, I don't want to say starstruck or awestruck, but I think it was just, for me, it was so exciting I was kind of giddy to finally meet everybody in person. Just like, oh my gosh, there's Brian, the Vineyard Farmhouse, and there's Justin, and there's Papa in person. So for me, I was just I was joy filled to be able to actually see everybody in person and to give hugs or to shake hands or whatever it was. But just to see everybody face to face, to me, was just
it was amazing.
Joy filled. It just filled me up.
It really did. Let's look and see who we got in here. We got Mary Ann Bimler and Petty Jean River Homestead, Hiking with Jackie Boy, Full Blown Country, Sherman Family Farm, Let's Trade Paint, Back Road Freedom. That's our other buddy.
Mm-hmm.
So is Hiking with Jackie Boy, and all you peoples. And I got a little bit better of a connection with our cabin in the woods. I know Papa talked to them quite a bit. That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Beth Cornett and Heartland HQ. Man, that was like going live in 4K. See everybody. That was awesome. Don't look at me. Look at me. I look better on film.
That's funny.
Hopefully I look 10 pounds lighter.
I know, right?
Evelyn Newman's in the house and Altruistic Farmstead too.
Hey.
So for those of you that watch No Judgment here, we know the stories that she has, the people that she has on and their story. But we're going to talk a little bit about her story and how she got started. Well, she can go back as far as she wants to, but we're going to talk about how she got started with her channel, which ended up going to radio, right? You had a channel first and then you went to radio.
Yes. I had a podcast first, and so it's kind of, for me, just really strange how, in a good way, strange, how all of this happened. But initially, look, I love Jesus, but I cuss a lot, but I follow and listen and pray, and when I do, there were nights that just sleepless nights, tossing and turning and tossing and turning. And I could not. Hey, look at you. I rolled in I'm still in my scrubs from the hospital. And so I just rolled in and, oh my gosh, I love your shirt. It looks good on you.
I was going to wear it backwards so you could see it, but it felt so weird and uncomfortable. I couldn't do it.
Oh, I love it. That looks great. Oh my gosh.
We're gonna have to get one with it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, not at all. Yeah, I either have to do something in the front, or instead of "Don't Judge Me, Bro" on the pocket, I was thinking maybe going straight across and maybe having, I don't know, and having my emblem in the front or logo in the front as well. I don't know. Yeah, I think I might change it up a little bit. Maybe you can help me with that.
Well, I love your logo.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, keep the logo, amazing. But yeah,
I would just put it on there.
You think just in the front?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's fine for me doing a live and a couple of other people have worn your shirt on their lives. Don't judge me, bro. They don't know what that is until I turn around.
Right.
Look at that amazing logo, people.
Isn't that cool?
And
Thanks to Mickey.
I don't wear pink for just anybody or white at all, but I'll wear it for Tish.
Well,
because look, my beard disappears and then it looks dirty what you do see.
I never would have even thought that or noticed that. And then you say that. And maybe I should just change my t-shirt color. May do a little change into the front, but not the logo.
Hot pink.
Logo is great.
Do it in hot pink.
Yeah, maybe do it in hot pink.
Black. It looks really good on black.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I totally interrupted your track of what you were saying, but
no,
totally
I was
needed to say at one point or another that your logo was amazing.
Thank you. And I do have to give props to Mickey at Critter Creek for doing that because he did such a great job.
He did.
So yeah, it's weird how the podcast and everything came about because I'm going to tell you this. I am not one to whoever would have thought, I never would have thought that I would have been led in the direction to start a podcast. But I was tossing and turning, and this has been several years ago, but I started a podcast. I finally, the Lord finally said, I need for you to tell your story. I need you to share your story, and not for personal gain and glory, but to give God the glory. And, I was just very much instructed, or told, as gently as the Lord is, that people need to know what you have been through so that they know how you got through it. And I got through it through God. I mean, there's so much more. I won't go into my whole life story with my kids and I being abandoned and all that stuff, but, so that's kind of how I finally woke up and thought, okay, so that's what I need to do. I need to start a podcast. So I started a podcast. It's called Collaborative Efforts because in the midst of my sharing my story, again, the title Collaborative Efforts just came to me because I thought, I can't do this by myself. I mean, I'm one person with a few testimonies. But then after that, I'm all done. Right. And so I just kept thinking, or the Lord just kept saying, there's a lot of people that I've helped. There's a lot of people that need to share their story, and you're my tool. I'm going to use you to have them come on and share so that people will know that he is good, and he is. And so one of my first podcasts on collaborative efforts was me sharing some of my testimony as a child. And everybody that's followed my channel or knows me knows that I love my parents, both in heaven, and I love my dad and my mom. Unfortunately, my dad was a raging alcoholic when we were younger, and we were beaten and abused physically, verbally. And so my first podcast on collaborative efforts was called I Peed in the Closet. And, it's a funny title, but to me, I mean, I literally peed in a closet. My sister, at a very young age, my dad was in a rage, and my eldest sister, he was banging on our doors and trying to get in. And she told me, she grabbed me and she said, let's go hide in the closet. And so I was standing there, and I'm a huge rule follower. And I think that was beaten into me, but it's a good thing to be a rule follower. But, I just never wanted to make any mistakes because I didn't want to get a beating. And so when we were in the closet, I could hear my dad beating on the door, and I told her, I need to pee. And we were whispering this, and she said, just try to hold it. And I said, I can't, I need to go to the bathroom. And she said, just go ahead and pee. And I thought she meant go ahead and go to the bathroom. So I was motioning to go to open the closet. And she goes, no, just pee in here. And so I did, and then all the other background history and all that's in that podcast, but that's why I called it "I Peed in a Closet." Well, after I shared some of my testimonies, I was asked to share my testimony in church, and that was one thing that I wanted to do, but I didn't. And the reason why I didn't want to do that is because I lived in my own personal prison, um, with feeling like I was super ugly. I had a horrible automobile accident when I was 19, which is a long time to hold yourself captive or to let the enemy hold you there. And every time I looked in the mirror up until the year of COVID, legit, I would look in the mirror and think, oh my gosh, so ugly. I don't know if you guys can see, but I have a big scar on my forehead. My nose was broken, and so it's crooked, knocked out tooth. And I just looked every day, every day. It was hard for me to look in the mirror, actually, to even get my contacts in. And I just kept, the more that kept feeling like I really don't want to share my testimony, the more it was like a spiritual warfare. I wanted to so bad, but I didn't want to because I didn't want people to look at me. So in the meantime, there's so much involved, but in the midst of all this, I had a life coach, and her name's Elena Rodriguez, and that happened on a fluke too, or I say on a fluke, but that was all God. Didn't know her from Adam, saw one of her posts randomly, don't even know her, not even friends with her on Facebook. And she had said, if you need a life coach or you need help reaching your goals, hit me up, whatever. I did. Anyway, so I had been visiting with her for a while, and I told her about me being asked, she knew about my podcast, and I told her about me being asked to share my testimony at church, but I was scared to death. And we chatted about it for a long time. And she said, do it, but do it afraid. You can do it. God will be there with you. Just do it. And so I did. I went on and shared my testimony. And later, this is years later, so that I'm praying and I'm thinking, okay, what's next? What is next, God? You wanted me to do this. I've started. Now what? And there was just a very heavy, just a weight. He just kept telling me, I need you to interview mothers who have lost their children, specifically their son. And I kept thinking, why? Why? That's very hard. You're asking me something very hard to do, but let me see what I can do, And I found, or I actually know, I have 5 friends who have lost their sons, ironically. And, he had placed that on my heart to do that. And I have 5 friends, very close friends, that have lost their sons. So I talked to them. We're prepping. He's asking me to dig in, and I kind of ignored him. But I was talking to the women, the moms, and telling them, confirming if they wanted to come on, and they did. Well, on September 28th of 2018, I was sitting at my desk at work, and it was a very heavy God saying, if you're going to do this interview, you need to dig in deep. You need to dig in deep. And I'm telling you, you need to dig in deep right now. And so I was like, okay. So I was online and I was doing research. Some of the research that I did was things to not ask parents who have lost their children. Did some research on moms who have lost their sons, things not to say, things to do. There were some women that had expressed how they felt after losing their son. And so I was just noting all of this in my head. And that day I come home, and in the crack of our door at our house, there was a card from the Crowley Police Department. And I looked at it and I thought, my gosh, what's going on? Well, the police had rolled up the same time I pulled the cart out of the door. And when I turned around, I asked them, they asked me, are you Tish Ross? And I said, yes. And they said, well, you need to make sure that you call the police department now babe, where did Ben live?
Abilene.
In Abilene. Call the Abilene Police Department now. So Mike was at work, Pooch was at work, and I called Mike and I told him that there was a card there and that Ben, obviously Ben lives in Abilene, but it was from the Abilene Police Department. And 1,000% of the time, a Pooch would have handled it. But for whatever reason, well, I say whatever reason, God told me you need to call. So I told Pooch that I would call and let him know what happened. We thought, well, maybe he just got arrested. Of course, Ben had struggled with his addiction, but he moved to Abilene in a sober living place. And I called the Abilene Police Department, and when I called them, they said, are you home by yourself? And my daughter was home at the time. And I said, no, my daughter's here. But, as soon as you hear that, it's like watching the movies. Are you home by yourself and are you sitting down? And I said, I'm sitting down, and I just knew. And they said, well, this morning, the police have found your son and his girlfriend dead in a ditch. It was a motorcycle accident. So, Brian, it was amazing. It's amazing how good God is, because not only was I doing this research for this podcast that I was going to do, at the same time, God was preparing me. I'd lost my son, and Ben is not my biological son. He's Pooch's only biological son. But not in a way, but God prepared me. You obviously can't be fully prepared when you lose a family member. I've lost my parents, and there's no way to prepare for that. It's going to happen, but there's no way to prepare for that. You certainly don't think that your child's going to pass before you. But at that moment, I was thinking, that's why he wanted me to do the research for this podcast. He was helping me to prepare to have to not only lose a child, but to prepare to be there for Pooch. And like I shared with you, that was the hardest thing, is to have to tell Pooch that Ben had died. There's so much more to that story, but all that to say, I'm preparing for this podcast, and then COVID hits, and we were all, or most of us were all at home. We all were ordered to be at home. And so during that time, I wrestled with, what do I do next? It's COVID. And I don't know what the Lord wanted me to do. What would you want me to do? And I wrestled. I went back and forth with him, because not only was he wanting me to continue to do a YouTube channel. Actually, he wanted me to start a YouTube channel. And I was like, I don't want to show my face. I don't. So during that time, I battled with God, but that stronghold was finally broken. I finally had busted out of that cage that I kept myself in, and realized that, specifically God said, I don't make ugly. You're not ugly. You're a daughter of the King. The only reason why you're looking in the mirror and thinking that you're ugly is because you are allowing the enemy to keep you in that cage, and I want you to be free. And it was not, I'm serious, it wasn't maybe a week after that my coach, I told her what had happened. I said, I had a breakthrough. The stronghold is broken. I know now that I can show my face. And she said, well, if that's true, okay. And she was really testing my faith and my trust and belief and hope in the Lord. If you are being honest with what you're saying, if you really believe that you're broken and that God has gotten you out of that, then you will go live. I want you to do a live on Facebook. And I said, oh, yeah, I can do that. And she said, okay, well, I need to know the date and I need you to tell me what day that you're going to go on so I can watch you. And honestly, I was like, shit, man, she's going to pin me down and she's going to make me do this. Like I said, I love Jesus, but I cuss a lot. And so she said, yep, you said it, you're going to do it. And if I'm the only one watching, I want you to do this. So I gave her a date. I went on Facebook Live. I shared the testimony in terms of breaking out of the stronghold that I had, in terms of feeling like I was an ugly monster or whatever. And there was a lady from the radio station that she said, after I met her, she said she never watches anybody's Facebook Live. We didn't really know each other other than I passed by her at church a couple of times. I knew who she was, but I didn't know her. So she said, and she certainly doesn't watch people's lives of people that she doesn't know. So she watched mine and she heard my story and she was like, I want you, or she Facebook messaged me and she said, hey, I just watched your live. I want you to come to the radio station and I would like for you to share that part of your story. Would you like to do that? Well, hell yeah, I'll come and share it. That's what God wants me to do. I'm coming. So I did. I went on to
enough.
What's that?
It seems like God told you enough.
He did.
I'm
serious. And of course, mind you, this was all in a matter of months and a year. I mean, all of this didn't happen just all at once, but in terms of the COVID and the breakthrough and the radio station, this all did happen back to back. But so I went to the radio station. I shared my story on the radio. The owner of the radio station came in during the minute commercial break that we have, and she said, hey, I really love your voice. I know that you have a podcast where you have people come in and share their stories. I love your testimony. How about you bring your podcast to my radio station? And Brian, it was like just the minute you release, or the minute you trust God, and for me anyway, I'll speak for myself, the minute I believed and broke through the cage that I kept myself in and really trusted and listened, was the minute that, doors started opening. Never in my life, the introvert that I am, but I love people for a little while. And then when I have enough, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to be around people anymore.
Like you are in a live. Bye.
Yeah. See you later. I gotta go. But I was like, what, and she said, I really want you to bring your podcast to the radio station. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And then my very first radio program was, I was interviewing a young lady who was sex trafficked and she survived. And then after she shared her story, then people just started reaching out left and right, wanting to share their stories. And again, some of them tragic, some of them were still in the midst of their turmoil or their storms. Some had succeeded and then fallen back in and climbing and struggling to get back out. But all of that to say, the reason why I said yes to radio was so that, again, and I say this in every show, was so that people can come on and share their story. And I renamed it No Judgment Here because I wanted people to not feel like they had to be a certain way or they had to talk a certain way. I've had women on my shows that have cussed like sailors, and it doesn't bother me. Like, this is your story. No one can impact anybody the way that you can if you don't tell your story, right? If someone else tries to tell your story, they're not going to impact people the way that you can if it's not you. And so I just want people to feel relaxed and to be themselves and to know that there's no judgment. I've got a lot of stories that I could share, a lot of testimonies, and I did on my radio show. And suddenly, after being on radio for almost 4 years, again, and this is 4 years later, again, God was like, okay, you're done here, but I'm not done with you. I need you to move to a different platform. It's like, all right. So the YouTube channel that you have lying dormant for a year, I need you to go ahead and pick that back up and start reaching out to the YouTube community. And that's what my podcast is about. I've had people reach out to me either on TikTok, either on Facebook, whether it's email. That once one person came on and was vulnerable and transparent, whew, everybody started feeling super relaxed and thinking, you know what, I think I can tell my story. I think it's time. And some people have reached out and said, I'd like to come and share my story. And it's not about me. It never has been. It's about letting other people know that they are not alone. And that is why I do No Judgment Here. And it's been such a huge blessing for me. I have met hundreds over 4 years. I've met hundreds of people, and I've been blessed and honored to hear hundreds of stories. And it's just, like I said, it's not about me, but boy, is it an honor that people trust me with their stories. That's what it's kind of about.
Really opens your world, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. Yeah. I mean, whenever people are kind of going along in their journey and something is hard happening or bad is happening, you kind of think, why me? But man, my eyes are open to, it's not just you, bro. It's not just you. You have no idea how it's not just you. There are so many people that have lived, I mean, if not as hard, maybe even harder situations, or the cards that have been dealt sometimes suck, but we've gotten through it.
It almost seems like everybody has their story, their story that's
absolutely
not so good. And
that's true.
Good stories too.
That's right.
I know.
Oh, Ken.
Going back on what you say and going live and all that stuff, you have to give it up as far as worrying about what you look like, what you sound like, because you are you, and everybody knows you that way anyway, so you might as well just be it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And what's funny is the people that I know and have come to the radio station and shared their story. For me, I see so much. This might sound really corny, but I'm just a very deep thinker. But I see so much more beauty after they've shared their story. It's like, wow, you are so amazing, and I see you in such a different light, and not it's a very non-judgmental light. It's like, I mean, I've had a husband and wife alcohol married couple come on. The husband was an alcoholic, the wife was not, and they shared how they almost lost their marriage, but how she actually wound up helping him become sober. Now he's a sober living coach. But I see people even prior to them coming in. I again, no judgment. I love people. When I feel like being around people, I love people. I do. And then they share their story, and I see so much deeper, and so much respect and admiration, and so much love when I get to hear people's stories. And it is hard to come on and share your story. It is hard. I mean, I'm not saying it's so easy, because it is very hard to be vulnerable. It's very hard to trust people. Sometimes people are out just to either make money off of you, or I don't want to say gain likes, or maybe that, I don't know. But so here, my dilemma is this, Brian. I have people come on my show because their story, their life matters. But I am not doing that for the likes or the numbers, but if I don't start plugging my channel more, which I'm so grateful to you for this opportunity, then people aren't going to hear these people's stories, right? So
Correct.
I don't want to, ever want to come across as someone who is using people to gain subscriptions, because that's not what I'm about at
I
all.
don't think anybody thinks that, Tish.
Well, I mean, you never know. Like people that
Anybody
don't know
here
me.
who knows you knows that you're real. You're real, and you're a beautiful person inside and out.
Well, thank you. And I know that people that know me know that, but hopefully, if people don't, that they would come on just to at least hear uh, the story of my guest. And so I do need to start pushing and plugging my channel more. I mean, if anybody here is listening and you don't have your notifications on, again, it's not about me, but I really would appreciate your support in supporting my guests. And sharing it out if you can. I'm not about the money. I'm not about the anything. I'm just about helping people, and those people helping others, because obviously something in them moved them to reach out, and it takes a lot to reach out. And so how dare I not push my channel a little bit more? I don't know if push is the right word, but promote maybe.
And you've had some of the people in our community that we all know and love, and it is amazing to hear those stories, especially from people that you do know, but you don't know their story, and then they go and share it, and it does make you love them more, because it gives you this whole package that's more defined, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, man.
And you know what makes them tick, and maybe some of the reasons why they tick.
Exactly.
So, yeah. You've had Simply Jan Homestead, which I still have to watch that one. I can't believe I haven't watched it yet. And then there's Empty Homestead and Sherman Family Farm. I did not set that up that way, but he's next week's live.
Oh, nice. Well, nice little segue. That's pretty good.
You call that a segue, huh?
That was awesome. Perfect timing. Yeah, and Ken, Lone Star, no, Lone Cowboy. I always want to call it Lone Star Cowboy. I don't know why. And he knows it because I told him. But Lone Cowboy Adventures, dang it. Yes. He was on. Who else? I've got some other people coming on now.
Dan,
yes.
Sherman, Empty Homestead, Lone. Now you're gonna have me Lone Star, Lone Cowboy, and those are the ones that I know of, that we know in the community.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
stories. You should really go check those out and get yourself started watching her channel. But that's a good place to start. Definitely, because the more people that hear these stories, the better, because they will definitely, this community can definitely relate to these stories that she has with these guests.
Yeah, I mean,
stories. They're deep stories, but they're beautiful.
They are. And sometimes they don't end all that great. I see you, Lindsay. We do need to chat. I know that everyone has their own perspective on, even when I shared about the, beatings and abuse, verbal and physical, from my dad. Again, if you're just tuning in, I love my dad. I love him and I forgive him. And alcoholism is a disease, but you don't know that when you're a kid. You think you've done something wrong, or you think, why can I not be good? And so those are stories that need to be told, because number one, if you struggle with alcohol, that some of these stories might kind of inch you into thinking, maybe I should get some help, but back to perspective, like I can tell my story and my perspective of what it felt like growing up as a child of a raging alcoholic. But then my brothers and sisters' story and perspectives might be different. And so I hope that people, if you would like to come on and share your story, please know that I know that it's hard. Number one, if you're not ready, obviously you're not ready and you don't have to. But if you ever get to a point where you feel like, I think I can share this much about my story, or I am ready to share, I mean, I'm a safe place. I'm going to say this so that you'll know, even if you don't want your story to be shared on my show and you just need an outlet, I'm happy to listen to you. I'm happy to hear you. I think I may have missed some of my calling, and when I was in high school or after I graduated, I went to college for a little bit. We had to pay for our own college, and so that didn't last long because my parents had 5 kids, and so. But I majored in psychology and then child psychology, and I thought, man, maybe I should be a counselor, or a therapist, or. But you know what? I don't have to be anything licensed to lend my ear, to listen to you. And so, yeah, I mean, if you ever want to reach out and share your story, let me know. I'd love to have you on as a guest. Or if you ever just need someone to listen so that you can get that stuff out, I'm happy to lend an ear.
And you don't realize, some of these people who are telling their stories don't realize how much they're helping others that aren't ready to tell their story.
That's true. That's very true.
Do we have anybody? Did somebody post her No Judgment Here's link so I can put it up on the? Oh, there it is. No Judgment Here with Tish Ross. Thank you, Justin.
If I missed any of your comments, I'm sorry. I don't watch them when I'm talking.
Let's take a moment and check and see who's in here. I don't know where I left off last, but we got Jailbait and Tackle Outdoors. Rally Creative what? I just knocked it off of it.
Oh yeah, Rayleigh Creative Travel. Mm-hmm.
And Into the Mist is in here. It's Lindsay. And Lazy Days Ahead. Thank you for coming in. And Grilling Addiction with Nick. Let's Trade Paint. Heather Landskron, how you doing? Boy, we really wish you could have been there. Not to rub it in, I'm sorry if that's the way it sounds, but it would have really been nice to have met you, and maybe next time we'll
Absolutely.
Tree Haven's in here. How many trees you got? Do you have any less trees than the last time I talked to you, or do you have more?
I see that, Josh. I will get a hold of Gary.
Oh, Tree Haven's been gone for a long time. I'm way down on the. I was way up on the list. Simply Jan Homestead wasn't. Yeah, well, that's what made me talk about her. I saw her. And Karen Breest. Breest. Is that how you pronounce that, Breest?
I don't know. It's either breast or breast.
And yeah, I think we're caught up on who. Oh, Narrowway Farm is in here. How you doing?
Kickapoo.
Cool. Yes, I've had you on here several times. I've had you on as Pretty and Pooch. I've had you on here as a co-host. I've had you on here in just like last week. We had you on here as a panel with Pretty Pooch and Justin, which I love a lot of people, but we have a little group friendship here that's pretty special to me. So I wanted to have you guys on last week. And I said, I never had Pretty on as No Judgment Here with Tish Ross, and I got to do it.
Well, I appreciate you because it's tough.
It's so fresh in our minds because you just met her at the meetup. So why not have her on now so you can get to know her channel and subscribe? And you got to smash that top bell button that gives you all the notifications.
That's right.
It sounds like I'm getting rid of you. I'm not.
That's okay. okay. Hey, if you need to get rid of me, you can.
Obviously, no, I'm not going to get rid of you. It's just, those sound like open or closing lines, but I'm not. I want them in here. I want to say it while people are in here.
No stuff. Yeah.
Rebecca touched by yarn. We had a big hat picture with group.
Oh my gosh, that was so amazing. I mean, and I'm sure that everyone, obviously, not everybody was there that has received a hat from Rebecca. But the fact that the littles were in the picture and she was making those hats all weekend or at least all morning for them to be able to have their little hat. That was a beautiful picture, and everybody was surrounding her. And I was like, that's huge. That's amazing. And she has the sweetest brother. Is it Ronald? I think it's Ronald. His birthday was yesterday, but he's so sweet. But that was a beautiful, beautiful picture for sure.
Yes, it was. You know, there were several things that I took responsibility for, and I started the hat thing, and I mentioned it in every one of my lives. Bring your hat, bring your hat, bring your hat. And we got to that day, and I could just not get the crowd to understand what I was trying to put out there. But they must have got it, because we got the group going.
Yeah.
Last time I announced it, they finally snapped to it. And I said, even if you forgot your hat, which I know some people did, I said, get in the picture.
And, yes. Oh my gosh.
There are so many more people that she's done hats for that weren't at the event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was amazing. Thank you, John. That's very sweet. I appreciate that.
But boy, that was a lot of fun. So Tish, now that you're back on your own podcast of your own, in your own studio, doing your channel, how do you feel? You feel at home with it?
I do. I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be, for sure. You know, again, and I know I say it a lot, but I'm not just who I am. I know that when the Lord tells me to move, and I move, and I was afraid. I was afraid to actually step off of radio, but then I realized that once I had my very first live on YouTube, there were so not as much of this community, but there was a lot of community that need, just like the message was, that needed to be reached out to. And I received, emails from people that I don't even know, that, a few people that said, I'm not ready yet, but I just want to tell you, thank you for sharing. One person actually found me on Facebook and messaged me, thank you for having your story of the cancer. There's a gentleman and his wife, Don and Connie, and they're a couple that I interviewed. Don was alcoholic, and then he gained his sobriety, and it wasn't very long after he was sober for a while, maybe not even a year, but that he actually, when he became sober, he started coming up to the gym and walking the track and getting super healthy. And then he came up to the church, and I was working there, and he said, boy, I don't know what's going on, but I just cannot keep weight on now. And he said, it's funny that I'm saying that, because I struggled for so long with my weight. And he said, I guess this walking's doing a lot of good. And I said, well, Don, have you been to the doctor? And he goes, no, but I think I should go. Well, then he came back and found out he had cancer. And he's still fighting, but they were a couple that came on, and she was extremely angry at God. And he was not. And it's funny, because he's the one that has cancer, and but it's normal. It's, she was at first a little nervous about saying that she was angry. But I said, it's such a normal thing. God can take it, first and foremost. He knows that you're upset because your loved one is sick, has cancer, and you don't want him to have cancer, but God can take it. And they've become such a strong team. And she has become such a great voice of what's real, what is true. It's true that we get, angry because someone is sick. It's true that we want to throw our hands up and walk away from our faith. It's true, that it can cause issues in a marriage. All of that is so real, and people need to know and hear that. It's rare when people do. When people do come on and speak the truth, and when they do, boy, does it really hit home with a lot of people.
So let's there's a couple of extra people that came in here. We've got Alaska's Last Frontier. That was really
nice.
That was really nice meeting him. I told him we'll meet up. If he comes to Pennsylvania, we can meet in Erie. And then there's Kickapoo Crafty Cats in here. And
right.
Who else did we just see? There was somebody else.
Hi, Justin. I see that.
What did he say now? Drew Runs is in here.
Hey, yeah, there's Drew. Justin said I got a little pretty in my life.
Drew.
That's right.
We know you're working, probably closing the store up.
So all that was the longest answer to your question in that. Yeah, I feel like I'm in the place that I need to be because I am reaching more people. Well, not me, but my channel, my guests are reaching more people by sharing their stories, and people are reaching out because they are either thanking me and wanting me to not thanking me, but thanking me for having those guests on because they really needed to hear that. And I'm telling you, I know that, I feel that, I know that there are people who are waiting. And I say that all the time. They're just waiting for someone to share their story so that they know that they're not alone, because there have been things that unfortunately some of us have gone through, or I'll speak for myself that I've gone through, that I thought, if anybody ever knew this, oh my gosh. And what am I supposed to do in this particular situation? Like, no one's gone through this before. And the minute somebody shared their story, or I heard somebody's story, or I read about somebody's story, I was like, oh, thank God I'm not by myself. And it just brings a sense of relief to know that you're not alone. And I don't know, I think it's just great for people to come on and share their testimonies or their stories. Good night, back to country.
Square County Homestead. Have they been in here? And back to country? Yeah. Oh, they're leaving.
Yeah, back to country's leaving.
I just noticed them, or did I notice them earlier? I can't remember. And DJ Turneroo is in here.
Oh, lazy days ahead. Jesse, I just want you to know that my prayers and my thoughts are with you and your family and Lisa. And I'm so sorry for your loss.
I am horrible with finding the right words to say to somebody who's dealing with heartache and stuff. But you've been on my mind. That's for sure. I just, I never find the right words to say.
That was something else that, and again, doing all of that research before Ben was killed, and just really researching what's the right thing to say, what's the wrong thing to say. There's not really, and I can say this from losing my parents and losing Ben, there's not really a wrong thing to say. I think when you know that people don't know what to say, but they love you and they just want to be there for you, they want to comfort you, and they are fumbling with words, or they are asking silly questions. Like, some of the things that I had read was, don't say, is there anything I can do for you? But again, those are things that I read. I feel like the people that love you and care about you, they don't know what to say. And so things come out and they don't mean for them to be the wrong. I mean, they don't mean to hurt you. I mean, because the response to that question in the research that I was reading was, yeah, you can do something for me. You can bring my kid back, and it's hard. It's hard. But I know that I can speak for Pooch and myself that people don't know what to say. And sometimes you don't have to say anything. If you're just there and you just give the person a hug. If you don't know what to say, just give them a hug. If it's somebody from long distance, kind of like you said, Brian, I've been thinking about you a lot. That's all you have to say. There's not, I don't think there's anything wrong to say. I think people mean well.
Yeah, I know.
Do you have a story?
Do I have a story?
Yeah. Now that we're talking about stories,
This
I'm thinking,
community isn't ready for my story.
is that right?
That's locked up.
Well, you need to unlock it. I'm going to get a key and start kind of, or a screwdriver. If I don't have the key, I'm going to get the screwdriver and start kind of twisting and turning and see what's going on in there.
I'll tell you, I'll say this: doing this YouTube channel has brought me, or taken me in and out of my comfort zones. Every time I turn around, it's like a roller coaster, because I really did suffer with low self-esteem growing up and issues with that. I'll leave it at that. Yes, I had quite the story as I was growing up.
Is that right?
And how I dealt with things. But I'll tell you, this community, having this community behind me, has been such a great help for all that ailed me.
That's awesome. I see you, Sean. Sean said, way to flip the script, Tish. I started kind of thinking, because everyone does have a story, or everyone has something that they've gone through, whether they think
come with your crowbar on me.
Oh, I'm coming. I mean, there's just, whether someone thinks that it's little or wow, well, things like that really, I mean, I didn't go through big stuff like that, but no, it is a big thing. It is a big, and I can remember what you were saying, kind of growing up with low self-esteem. I grew up where, I didn't really know racism. We just didn't. I just didn't grow up in that kind of household. We loved everybody just like I do today. But I can remember specifically, and I won't say his name, but I remember his name. When I was a kid, I was walking home from school by myself, and that mofo, he hawked a loogie and he spit it and splat right on my face. And I can tell you that if I think about it, I can go back and think that was probably the most, gosh, what is the word? I just felt very shitty. I can't think of the right word. I felt very, yeah.
Well, I was a real skinny kid in school, and I guess you could guess where that went. I mean, I was only 6 foot. Well, not 6 foot, but even when I was like 5'8" and 5'9", I was skinny. And people are cruel. They're cruel.
They are. People are cruel. People are, unfortunately. And yeah, it just, some of those things just kind of, you remember, and it stinks. And yes, we don't live in the past, and we move. Hopefully people will take steps to move forward, and to not let that bring you down or to rule your life, which is another reason why I think it's great to talk about some of the things that have happened, because it helps kind of release that, or let it go. And so, yeah.
Well,
Brian.
I was just telling my dad today, because I don't want anybody to get this wrong, but coming off of the meetup, I went through a mini downtime. Because when you're filled with such self-doubt growing up, and you go to this event that is so successful as far as meeting your friends and new people and all stuff, and you should feel great, and your self-esteem should be heightened. Well, it's stupid to think this way, but I came home and I felt this, like I wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. So that's the gist of my story, and there's a lot there.
That's not the gist of it. But let me tell you this.
I'm telling you, that's all you're going to get.
I got you. But I think some of that sometimes comes from, and I'll speak for myself. Well, I know some of it did stem from growing up and trying to be perfect, so I wouldn't get a beating, right? Trying to say the right thing so I wouldn't get a beating, or be called an idiot or all the names. But I think that being a perfectionist, which I think you are, I think I can see that you're a perfectionist, and so that sometimes I think, well, I'll speak for myself, but I think this kind of goes with the flow in terms of people who feel the need to be perfect. For myself, as a wannabe perfectionist, because I'll never be perfect, but I am always beating myself up, always thinking, dang it, I didn't do enough, or that wasn't good enough, or maybe I should have said this, or maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I should have tried harder. And it's okay. You can only do what you can do. You can only do the best that you can do. And if it's not good enough for people, that's just too damn bad. I mean, I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best, man. And I think that that's all that anybody should ever expect from anybody. You're just doing your best.
I want to take a second to give some attention to My Wild Home. I watched that channel. I binged watched it and watched everything that they had, because they fit in this community because it's homesteading and all that stuff. But nobody I know has bought an island and started building on it. They bought an island, and you can't beat that story, the content.
Oh my gosh.
So I've been talking to them, and they originally, the first time I met them was through Backroad Freedoms Live. And they came in and we suggested her come on, and she came on for like 5 minutes, and it was really cool. And I started watching her channel, and I'm up to date. I've watched every single one of them. Unless, did I watch that last one? If I didn't, I'm going to go watch it.
That's cool.
They bought this island, and it had some old cabins on it that were, because it's been years and years, and they just like all collapsed except for the one, which is kind of cool. But yeah, they plan.
Where's the island at? Where's said island?
Oh my God.
That's okay if you don't know. It's okay.
I thought it was in Alaska, and you know what? I always meant to find that out, and I have not found out where that is.
No worries. I mean, I need to get on there. I need to get on there.
I think it is Alaska or close to, in Canada, or you tell us. You tell us where.
Yeah, they're in the chat. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know. You would think after binge watching all your stuff that I would know the answer to that. BC. Okay, I did know that. Now that you mention it.
That's okay. That's cool. My Wild Home.
But
I'm
I've
gonna need
been
to hop on.
I've been emailing her on and off, or I think it's her that's actually communicating with me. And I'm gonna have her on my live. If she'll do it, I'll have them on my live for sure.
So it says 12 hours north of Vancouver.
Yeah.
Oh, in the wilderness of British Columbia, Canada.
They had to go all the way across country. I hope I'm not giving away too much, but maybe I hope I'm giving enough information for everybody to go check it out.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to buy a barge, because of course, if you have an island, you have to have a station across the waterway, and you need to have a barge to get your stuff back and forth. Of course, building supplies, since they're building a tiny house now, and then plan on building a house after they're all settled with that. But they went all the way across Canada to Ontario, because they were buying a barge, and then they drug it all the way back. You're talking 1,000 miles or 2,000 miles.
Wow.
And their wheels blew out, and they got stuck in mud with it. And it was I was definitely watching that.
Well, that's enough you've said enough to make me want to go and watch. So
yeah, it's good.
That's so cool.
My Wild Home.
Okay. I'm going to have to go check that out. Well, I just want to thank you. I know it's 10 o'clock, and I have to get up early. I have another 12-hour shift at the hospital, but man, this was so much fun. And I so appreciate you, Brian, for asking me to come on and to share a little bit of why I started my podcast and my channel. And I really do appreciate it. So yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to hear some great stories from people, you should come on over, because people have just graciously come on and been very raw and real and vulnerable and transparent, all the things. And I probably will try to promote my channel a little bit more. Like I said, it's not about me, but it's about supporting my guests. Their stories need to be told, and their stories need to be heard. So
before you go, let's push this non-organic push on Full Blown Country.
Yes.
Your husband's channel.
That's right. That little guy, Pooch,
We got
he has a great channel.
Chemicals on that sucker. enough of this organic crap. Let's put some freaking Roundup, or not Roundup, Miracle Grow.
Yeah, Miracle or Roundup will kill it. Yeah, Miracle Grow, that would be great.
Miracle Grow.
So yeah, you guys need to check out Pooch. His channel is Full Blown Country. And if you're watching earlier, he asked me to join him. And so part of his channel is Pretty and Pooch. He gave me the name Pretty. I did not give myself that name, but so I'm his Pretty, but we do Wednesday nights. Yeah, I'm his Pretty.
And I can see why, because you're a beautiful person.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Brian. But his channel is pretty cool. He's got all kinds of crazy stuff on there.
I love your channel. I love your interaction with each other, and some of your content videos, the interaction in your content videos with each other is just hilarious. It is. I mean, you guys put out a video of carving a pumpkin, and your audio was all screwed up, but we could read what was going on just through your laughter and joking around and pointing at crap.
I know.
I loved it. I watched that twice.
Oh, how funny. And we were worried because you couldn't hear the audio, because it was really funny, but it did turn out to be, a nice little silent. Yeah, exactly.
It was definitely a happy accident. And I was waiting for the tree decorating one, which you should have done, but you didn't do it.
No, I know, didn't. But yeah, so you guys need to check out Full Blown Country.
Contest.
Yeah, we do.
I take it from the video he was cutting something out and cut half of it off.
Oh man, he cut some legs off, or he was carving real slow, and the next thing you know, he's holding up what he's he was holding up some legs or something that he cut off. But it was funny, and just the way that he sort of narrated what he was doing made it even more comical. But so yeah, you guys need to check out Full Blown Country, and then Full Blown Country, Pretty and Pooch are on Family Night Wednesdays at 7. And my show, No Judgment Here, is on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And so, yeah, you guys need to come check it out. Now, I'm not sure because with this training at the hospital, there may be some premieres or some lives that are obviously videotaped because people still have to get their stories out. They'll still come on. It just may not be a live.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Until I can get on my regular schedule. It's just a lot of training right now.
Wow. So I want to thank, first of all, let's thank everybody that's in the chat. You're all amazing people. And it was so great to see all of you and as many of you as we could in person at the meetup. Thank you to my moderators. You do a bang up job for my channel, protecting it. And thank you, Pretty, for coming on and sharing your story.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Now I have to find another excuse to have you later because I love having you and Pooch on my channel.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody that came in and your comments. I'm going to go back and look at them. And I think Pooch was in, like you said, you have some amazing moderators that were chatting and responding. But I so appreciate it.
Lone Star came in.
Lone Star. I swear I can never say Lone Cowboy. It's always Lone Star first. But I love you, Ken, and Josh for coming on and sharing your story. Ken for coming on. Simply Jan for coming on. MT Homestead for coming on and sharing. Man, you guys are amazing people, and everybody in the chat's amazing. So you have a great channel, Brian, and I'm grateful for this opportunity.
I'm grateful for your friendship.
Yours too.
And Pooches. What an amazing people. You got to go check their channel out. If you're in my live right now and you haven't subscribed to Pretty and Pooch at Full Blown Country or No Judgment Here with Tish Ross, you got to go do it and hit those bell buttons.
Sweet. I'd appreciate. Yeah, smack it.
So till next week, 9 o'clock Central. And we got Sherman Family Farm. He's going to be a full-on guest spot. And
nice.
I'm looking forward to that. I get to talk to him on and off all week, and that'll be fun. And which I do with my guests. I always talk to my guests for pretty much the whole week. I cram on getting to know everything I can out of them.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see Josh. He's an awesome guy. And thank you, My Wild Home. They said that they subscribed to both. So cool. We appreciate that. Yep.
Yeah, My Wildlife. And everybody go check out that channel. You're going to be, I mean, if you like off-gridding with a twist, yeah, you got to go watch that. They're bought an island.
That's cool. I got to go check that out.
Okay. All righty. Well, thank you very much. See you all next week. 9 o'clock Central.
Cool. Bye.